The Long Island network of roadways consists of state roads, county roads, and town roads, none of which stand alone, but all of which stand as part of the overall traffic system of Long Island. The purpose of this network is to meet the needs of the customer, the traveling public of Long Island. The needs of the driving public are prioritized by the New York State Department of Transportation, the DOT, and fall into the categories of safety, increased efficiency of existing facilities, and improvement and creation of new facilities. A major part of DOT's approach to serve the driving public is corridor management, and a major corridor is the NY 110 corridor, known to the public as the Route 110 corridor. The Route 110 corridor is perhaps the DOT's most important north-south corridor on Long Island. Home to nearly 20% of Suffolk County's workforce, the Route 110 corridor is often referred to as Long Island's Main Street.
We've been basically working with the existing information that's been correlated by the Suffolk County Department of Planning and also with the New York State Department of Transportation. We've taken that information and we've made our analytical studies based on the existing information.
The methodology is to take that data and make some projections and finally come to some conclusions on how the corridor will develop and grow and make some recommendations on how we should force it to develop and grow.
The length of road from NY 109 Babylon Farmingdale Turnpike to NY 25 Jericho Turnpike varies in character between office buildings, commercial space, shopping areas, light industry, and even single-family dwellings. The corridor has a university with its unique traffic patterns, an airport, an elevated Long Island Railroad crossing, a major LIPA power line easement, and a museum.
The purpose of today's conference is to extract from people who have a business on the corridor, or for those who have some jurisdiction over the corridor, their opinions on how the corridor should develop, how it was in the past, what it is today in the present, and how it should develop in the future. And if you try to do that only from raw data, you only get a half a picture.
Presently, there is major construction planned for the corridor's intersection with Jericho Turnpike and from the Northern State Parkway south to the Long Island Expressway Bridge. There is resurfacing scheduled for the corridor in several places, from NY 109 to the LIE, and again from the Northern State Parkway to Jericho Turnpike.
Traffic counts from a permanent count station just south of the Northern State Parkway. We've noticed that since 1989 and until 2002, for the most part, traffic volumes have gone up at about the rate of 1%. And it was very surprising to see that ever since that traffic has gone down at the rate of about 2%. And that was very surprising to me.
People's perception is that traffic continues to grow, although they don't usually know the percentage, about 1.5% on Long Island, and that perception's usually correct. But on the 110 corridor, we have this drop. Now, we don't have a good explanation for it yet, but the people that we asked in the survey, their perception, not reality, their perception, is that traffic continues to get worse and their delay is longer, even though the data doesn't show that.
Traffic counts exceeded maximum capacity between Pine Lawn Road and Schwab Road 21% of the time. This is exacerbated during holiday shopping times. This condition is being addressed in the DOT project to widen the Northern State Parkway Bridge and provide 3 lanes throughout this area. The congestion problem is not entirely solved, but instead moved north, such that Route 110 north of the Northern State Parkway will become the new bottleneck. This will be exacerbated when and if the Walt Whitman Mall expands by building a second floor. At that stage, it would be reasonable to expect the DOT to add a 3rd lane in both the north and south directions. The study also determined that some sections of Route 110 have developed multiple rush hours, and these rush hours have elongated into 2- and even 3-hour periods. For example, Many working people leaving work to run errands during their lunch hour extend this rush hour sometimes to 3 p.m., which is almost the beginning of the evening rush hour. These new rush hours cannot be dismissed, but roads which meet capacity standards cannot be expanded to meet this rush hour. Instead, the intersections within this area of congestion must be altered to improve their level of service, such that intersections clear quicker with less conflict points. One area where the region could proactively improve congestion is through carpooling. The study's telephone survey showed that carpooling is almost non-existent in the corridor. The DOT has been very successful in encouraging carpooling and would gladly participate in seminars and training sessions to encourage carpooling. The survey also reveals that those who use the Route 110 corridor on a regular basis experience heavier traffic conditions and more delays during their afternoon-evening commute compared to the morning commute. These views are strongly supported by essentially all traffic counts.
The Route 110 actually works pretty well. And also, from point of view from this conference, now we hear this has kind of been reinforced by the people who came and spoke here today. They also looked at from their perspective, and Route 110 is not as bad as many people think.
Actually, I'm optimistic about traffic congestion and the resolution of some of our bottleneck conditions that exist and have existed for a long time in the 110 corridor with the cross intersections of the Long Island Expressway and the Southern State and the Northern State Parkway. The situation hasn't gotten any worse. It hasn't gotten a lot better, but at least it hasn't decayed demonstrably. We still have occasional bottlenecks. We still have occasional problems at rush hour, but I think the population has stabilized. The utilization of the roads has stabilized, and that if anything, we've got nowhere to go but up.